Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing three-phase induction motor topic and subject name is electrical machines 2. Myself Raman Devesh. So three-phase induction motors are singly excited system. In this we are giving three-phase AC supply to the stator only and the rotor is not given any kind of supply. So induction motors are also known as asynchronous machines and they work on the principle of electromagnetic induction because they work at all speeds below synchronous speed or at all speeds other than synchronous speed. That is why they are also known as asynchronous motors and they work on the principle of electromagnetic induction. So in the construction details we can see that it consists of stator and rotor. The stator consists of stator frame which is made up of cast iron. Then it has stator core, stator slots. Stator slots has three phase distributed windings and three-phase AC supply is given to this distributed winding. Three-phase AC supply is given to this three-phase distributed winding which is present in the stator slots here. Then we have stator conductors. Here. Then it is fixed on stand or base. On the rotor side we have rotor core and rotor conductors, and in the middle we have rotor shaft. Based on the type of rotor which is there in the induction motor, it can be classified into two types. One is squirrel cage rotor or a squirrel cage type, and other one is wound type rotor or slip ring type rotor. So based on type of the rotor we are classifying the three-phase induction motor. In squirrel cage rotor we have thick bars of aluminum or copper which are just placed in the slots on the rotor core, and these bars are short circuited at the end using end rings. We are short circuiting these copper or aluminum bars. The shape of the rotor looks like a cage of squirrel. That is why the name given is squirrel cage type induction motor. The shape of the induction motor looks like cage of a squirrel. The rotor slots which are there are skewed, or they are not parallel to the surface of the rotor. They are skewed for obtaining a quiet and smooth operation of the induction motor, and the shape looks like cage of squirrel. That is why the name given is squirrel cage rotor. Next is wound type rotor or slip ring induction motor. In this, the rotor contains windings which is similar to that of stator winding. So the rotor also contains three-phase distributed winding similar to that of that present on the stator, and we can see that the end of the rotor windings are connected to slip rings which are present on the shaft. The end terminals of the rotor winding are connected to slip rings which are present on the rotor shaft. That is why the name is also given as slip ring induction motor. The advantage of having slip ring type of connection or having slip ring rotor is that it allows for speed control of induction motor, and it also provides control over starting torque by allowing for a connection of the external resistance in the circuit. So we can connect some external resistance in the circuit and we can control the speed of the induction motor as well as we can control the starting torque. We may compare the two types of induction motor. One is squirrel cage induction motor and other is wound type induction motor. So squirrel cage induction motor is definitely economical and very simple in construction. The wound type induction motor is costly. Squirrel cage induction motor is more rugged, and so it requires less maintenance. So maintenance cost is low as well as initial cost is also low. But wound type rotor or wound type induction motor needs more maintenance because of the presence of windings on the rotating part. But in the squirrel cage induction motor we have no control over starting torque, whereas for wound type induction motor we have control over starting torque by connecting external resistance in the circuit. Similarly, squirrel cage induction motor we cannot control the speed using a resistance or using an external resistance, but for wound type induction motor we can have easy control using external resistance. So the stator of the induction motor consists of three-phase distributed winding. So when three-phase balanced AC supply is given to the three-phase distributed winding, when three-phase supply is given to three-phase distributed winding, then a rotating magnetic field is created. A magnetic field which rotates in space, its magnitude is equal to 1.5 times of the maximum value of the flux which is there in the conductor. So the rotating magnetic field is created in space when a three-phase balanced supply is given in three-phase distributed winding, and its magnitude is equal to 1.5 times of phi m. The speed at which the magnetic field is rotating in space is known as synchronous speed, and it is denoted by ns. Now slip is the difference between synchronous speed ns and the actual rotor speed, and it is generally expressed as fraction or percentage. So in percentage terms it is ns minus nr upon ns into 100, and if we talk about slip speed, then it is equal to slip times of ns. This is slip speed, and slip is expressed in terms of fraction or percentage, and slip speed is simply slip times of the synchronous speed. Next is principle of operation of induction motor. It works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. When a three-phase AC supply is given to three-phase distributed winding, a rotating magnetic field is created, and this rotating magnetic field cuts the rotor conductor and thus inducing an EMF on it. This induced EMF causes a current to flow in the rotor, and the rotor circuit, as the rotor circuit is short circuited, so it, as per Lenz's law, this effect tries to oppose the cause. So here the effect is the current in the rotor which is produced because of the induced EMF. So it is the effect. Current in the rotor is the effect, and the cause is the cutting of the flux by the magnetic field. So the effect will try to oppose the cause. The effect is the current in the conductor, and cause is the flux cutting. So to oppose the cause, by as per Lenz's law, the flux cutting needs to be reduced, and flux cutting can be reduced if the relative speed between the rotating magnetic field and the rotor conductor decreases. So initially when the conductors are stationary, when the rotor conductors are stationary, the flux cutting is at speed of ns. Since the rotating magnetic field is rotating at speed of ns, so flux cutting will be at speed of ns when the conductors are stationary. So to oppose this flux cutting, the relative speed needs to decrease. So for decreasing this relative speed, the rotor conductors also start rotating in the same direction as the rotating magnetic field. Rotating magnetic field is created because of the stator. So the rotor conductors also start rotating in the same direction as that of rotating magnetic field in order to decrease the relative speed between the magnetic field and the rotor conductors. In this manner, the rotor conductor starts rotating, or the rotor starts rotating in the direction of rotating magnetic field itself. For reversing the direction of rotation, what we can do, we can interchange the supply phase, we can interchange any two phase, and we can interchange any two phase of the supply on the stator. That will change the direction of rotation of the rotating magnetic field, that will change the direction of rotating magnetic field, and hence the rotor conductor will also rotate in this other direction. You must remember that the rotor will always rotate in the same direction in which the rotating magnetic field is created. Let's discuss the working of three-phase induction motor. The speed of the rotor, the speed of the stator field, which is rotating in the space with respect to the stator. Stator is stationary, so we are having a frame of reference which is stationary in space. So speed of the stator field with respect to stationary frame or with respect to stator is ns, which is the synchronous speed. It is created because of three-phase balanced supply given to the three-phase distributed winding. So that is the speed of the stator field or speed of rotating magnetic field. Next is speed of rotor of the induction motor. It is rotating at speed of nr. Now we can express this rotor speed in terms of synchronous speed. We want to express the value of rotor speed in terms of synchronous speed. So we know that SNS or slip speed is equal to ns minus nr. So from this we can get nr is equal to ns 1 minus s. We can get this value nr is equal to ns 1 minus s. We are just trying to express this rotor speed in terms of synchronous speed. Now let's see that the relative speed between the stator field or the rotating magnetic field and the rotor conductor when our rotor is already rotating is equal to slip times of the synchronous speed, because it is the difference between synchronous speed and the rotor speed. The relative speed between stator field and the rotor conductor is equal to ns minus nr, and we can express this in terms of synchronous speed, and this is equal to slip times of ns. So the relative speed between stator field and rotor conductor is slip times of ns. Now the flux cutting, because the rotor conductor is being cut at speed of slip times of ns, so the frequency of induced EMF in the rotor will be equal to slip frequency or slip times of the supply frequency. The frequency of induced EMF in the rotor will be equal to slip times of the supply frequency, because we know that ns is equal to 120 f upon p. So if instead of this frequency f, if we put this as, or instead of this speed ns, if we are putting this as slip times of ns, then the frequency of operation will be slip times of the main frequency or slip times of the supply frequency. So that is what we are seeing from here, that the speed is changing to slip times of ns, so the frequency of induced EMF will be slip times of the supply frequency. This is very important and you must remember it. See this in terms of one example. If the frequency of supply is equal to 50 hertz, and let the slip be equal to 4%, slip is equal to 4% or 0.04 in terms of fraction, or it is equal to 4%, then the frequency of induced EMF in the rotor will be 4% of 50 hertz. Frequency of induced EMF in the rotor. So EMF which is induced in the rotor because of electromagnetic induction, it will have a frequency of 50 into 0.04, which is equal to 2 hertz. So you might be seeing that the frequency at which the induced EMF is produced in the rotor is at a very small frequency, which is slip times of the supply frequency. Now we have seen that the an induced EMF is created in the rotor conductor. An EMF is induced in the rotor. An EMF is induced in the rotor, and this EMF is at a frequency of slip times of the supply frequency. Now this EMF will cause a current in the rotor conductor. This EMF in the rotor will cause a current in the rotor, and this current in the rotor will cause a flux. This current will cause a flux, because current into number of turns will lead to MMF, and this MMF will lead to flux. And since the EMF is at a frequency of slip times of the supply frequency, so we now will be seeing that what is the speed or frequency of this flux which is produced by the rotor conductor. We'll be seeing that what is the speed of this flux created by the rotor conductor. This flux will also be rotating in space. And now let's see the flux which is caused by the rotor conductor. It will also be rotating at some speed, and speed of this rotor field or rotor flux with respect to the rotor surface will be slip times of ns, because the frequency of induced EMF is slip times of the supply frequency. So corresponding to this frequency, the speed will be slip times of ns, as we have already seen that ns is 120 f upon p. So now what we are doing is we are putting the value of this frequency as slip times of the supply frequency. So the speed at which the field will rotate, is equal to slip times of the ns. So this is the speed at which rotor field will rotate with respect to the rotor surface, which is also rotating in space. You must note this, that speed of the rotor field is with respect to rotor surface, and the rotor itself is rotating in space at speed. The rotor itself is rotating in space at speed nr. Rotor is rotating at speed nr, and with respect to this rotor, the speed of the rotor field is sns. This is the speed of rotor field with respect to the rotor surface. Speed of the rotor field with respect to the rotor surface. So if we want to find the speed of the rotor field with respect to the stator, or with respect to a stationary point of view, or with respect to a stationary reference, then we need to find the speed of the rotor field with respect to stator. So with respect to stator, we must add the speed of the rotor as well. So it will be equal to speed of the rotor field with respect to stator will be equal to nr plus s times of ns, and nr itself is equal to ns 1 minus s plus s times of ns. So ultimately it will be equal to ns. So this is very important, that speed of rotor field with respect to stator will be equal to ns. So now we see that both the stator field as well as rotor field are rotating at speed ns. Then only we can have a constant or uniform torque. Otherwise, if this delta angle keeps on changing, because otherwise the rotor field will rotate at some other speed. If the rotor field is rotating at some other speed with respect to stator field, then this delta angle will keep on changing, and the torque which is produced will not remain uniform. So for uniform torque, we must have the stator field as well as rotor field with respect to the space. With respect to space, they must rotate at same speed, and we can see from here that both are rotating at speed of ns. Now let's see the EMF equation for three-phase induction motor. E1 is per phase value of induced EMF, E2 is per phase value of induced EMF in the rotor at standstill. N1 is number of turns per phase in stator, N2 is number of turns per phase in the rotor. phi is your flux per pole, F is frequency of supply, Kw1 is distribution factor of stator winding. We have already seen in case of synchronous motor that distribution factor Kw is equal to cording factor multiplied by the distribution factor. So this multiplied by the winding factor. So the EMF equation for induction motor is similar to that of the transformer. E1 or per phase value of induced EMF in the stator is equal to root 2 times of pi f phi n1 and kw1, and for induced EMF in case of rotor at standstill is equal to root 2 times of phi f phi n, root 2 pi f phi n into kw2, and if we take the ratio E1 upon E2 is equal to kw1 into n1 upon kw2 into n2, and we want to express this ratio in similar to that of the transformer case, because we can see that equation is similar to transformer case apart from this the distribution factor. So we want to express this ratio. This is voltage ratio, this is voltage ratio, and we want to express this in terms of turns ratio. Turns ratio is number of turns on primary side and number of turns on the secondary side in case of transformer. So this is turns ratio, this is turns ratio. So we want to express this in manner similar to that of transformer equation. So we are taking kw1 into n1 as n1 dash and kw2 n2 as n2 dash, and here n1 dash and n2 dash represent effective number of turns. This is just a variable taken for the sake of understanding or for sake of expressing the ratio in terms of or in a manner similar to that of the transformer. It is a variable just taken for ease of representation, and so that the ratio can be expressed in a manner similar to that of the transformer. Now let's see the equivalent circuit of the induction motor. The variables used here are R1 and R2, which is per phase resistance of stator and rotor winding. X1 and X2 are per phase value of leakage reactance of stator and rotor at standstill. Xm is magnetizing reactance. Rc is resistance corresponding to core loss of the induction motor, and S is the slip. So for drawing the equivalent circuit, now let's see. In case of transformer, we have already seen that primary winding was getting supply at frequency f, and the secondary side was getting induced EMF at the same frequency. It was having induced EMF at same frequency as that of the supply, so there was no problem, and we easily drew the equivalent circuit for primary side and secondary side, and then we connected them for the final equivalent circuit. But here in case of three phase induction motor, we have seen that the stator is getting a supply at frequency f, and the rotor is getting induced EMF at slip frequency, or frequency which is at slip times of the supply frequency. So while drawing the equivalent circuit or while drawing the final equivalent circuit, we cannot just merge the stator and rotor equivalent circuits, that we drew the equivalent circuit of stator and we drew the equivalent circuit of rotor and we just merge them. We cannot do this because both are at different frequency level. So we must take care and we must make certain modifications in order to obtain the final equivalent circuit. Now let's see. For stator we don't have any problem. It is similar to that of the transformer. R1 jx1 j times of x1, R1 j times of x1, then here jxm, which is magnetizing component, and rc is the core loss component, and the current is I2 dash. Now for equivalent circuit of rotor, if we see the standstill case or when the rotor is stationary, so under standstill case the value of slip is equal to 1. At standstill condition, when the rotor is stationary, value of slip is equal to 1. So the frequency of rotor induced EMF will be at frequency s times of f, and at standstill condition slip is equal to 1. So the rotor EMF will also be at frequency f at standstill condition. So there is no problem, and under standstill condition we can easily draw the equivalent circuit, and we can also connect it with the stator side. So rotor frequency will be equal to the supply frequency under standstill condition. Induced EMF will be E2, and leakage reactance will be X2. So this will be the equivalent circuit of the rotor under standstill condition. Under running condition, what are the things which will be affected by the frequency? Let's see. First is the rotor frequency under running condition will be equal to slip times of the supply frequency. Induced EMF will also be equal to slip times of the induced EMF which was under standstill condition, because we have already seen that E2 is equal to root 2 pi f phi n kW. So we can see that E2 is dependent on frequency. So rotor frequency under running condition will be slip times of the supply frequency. That is why induced EMF will also be equal to slip times. And similarly, leakage reactance, it is also dependent on frequency, so it will be equal to slip times of the x2 value, which is under standstill condition. So we can see that this will be our equivalent circuit, and its frequency is equal to slip times of the supply frequency. So we make certain modifications in this equivalent circuit in order to bring it at supply frequency, and so that we can connect it with the stator. We make certain modifications in this equivalent circuit to bring it at supply frequency. So we are dividing all the parameters by slip. So this will become equal to E2, this will become equal to jx2, and R2 will become equal to R2 dash upon S R2 upon S. And when we refer the parameters to the stator side, this will become R2 dash, X2 dash, and E2 dash. So this is the equivalent circuit which is at same frequency as that of the stator. Now we can easily connect this equivalent circuit with that of the stator. So this is the final equivalent circuit. The parameters have been referred to, this one is X2 dash, the parameters have been referred to the stator side. Next is the phasor diagram under running condition. It is similar to that of the transformer case, and we can easily discuss this one, that S times of E2 is equal to I2 R2 plus J times of slip times of I2 X2, and here I0 plus I2 dash is equal to I1, and V1 dash plus I1 R1 plus J times of I1 X1 is equal to V1. So this is the phasor diagram for 3-phase induction motor, and we'll discuss the different torque slip characteristics and other parts of the induction motor in the next lecture. That's all for this lecture.